Hey guys, this is Chris from Almost Legit Garage. So I'm happy to announce for the 2019 season, I'll be working with Whiteline Performance products to make this GTI a little bit faster. So they sent me out a few parts, and one of them is the Whiteline Essentials Kit number 4. This is for the Mark V and Mark VI platform golf and golf variant cars. So this includes a steering rack bushing, front position control arm bushings, rear trailing arm bushings, and the legendary anti-lift brackets and bushings for the backs of the front control arms. So this should hopefully help activate some of the grip the car already has. So we're going to get started on this and show you how it's installed. Okay, so we're going to start by removing the lower control arms so we can install the new bushings. If you've watched the TT control arm install video, you'll know kind of how this is done. But basically you're going to loosen your 3 bolts at the bottom of the ball joint to disconnect that. These are from the factory, I think a 16, but because I have TT arms, they're a 15. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think they change a little bit depending on if they're original ball joints or if they've been changed before. Okay, then the inner position of the rear control arm bushing are 2 16mm, and I believe that's an 18. And then you'll have an 18 up here for the front, so you just remove all of those and then the control arm should come out pretty easily. Okay, to remove the bushing from the rear position, you're going to want to chuck it in the vise, and you can do a little twist and pull maneuver. Let's see. Hope I can do this without wiggling you guys too much. Okay, let's see if we can get a decent view of this. There's also okay, hopefully that's decent-ish. Alright. Here's first, and there's like notches. And like that, and it'll just come right out. Okay, pushing the inner out of the control arm is a little bit difficult, but it can be done pretty effectively with a ball joint press. You're probably going to scratch up your control arm, but normally doesn't matter too much. But basically you're just going to set it up like this, and you should be able to push the bushing right on through, and then the new ones should fit right in. If you're doing this to the factory cast iron control arms, you might be able to do the drill bit technique. So you'll cut off that flangey bit, stick a drill bit in, let it chase it around, and it usually walks the bushing out. But where this has aluminum control arms, I don't want to do that and score up the bore. Okay, so you can see it's starting to tuck and pull that bushing down in, and it'll just push it right on through. Little to no hassle. And now that bushing completely disappeared into there. And we're about done. So a couple more twists, which once you get that flange in there, this goes really easy. And we will be out through the other side. Okay. Just felt like it bottomed out. So we're going to pull this back apart. Let's see what we got. And it's pretty much just that simple. We just gotta wrestle. Yeah. Just wrestle that last right out. And there we go. And you have a nice clean bore. You might want to clean it up if it's looking kind of rusty, but this looks pretty good. Obviously aluminum doesn't rust. But now this is your bare control arm, and we'll start putting in the new bushing. Okay, So supplied with this is the high performance bushing lubricant, and you basically just want to lube this bore, and then you're also going to lube the pin before it goes in. But let me just show you guys how easily these push in. And just like that, that bushing is installed. So that was pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Just make sure you lube everything. And like I said, these are pretty much hand fit in. If you're a little tight, you can put it in the bench vise to squeeze the bushing or the metal piece through. Okay, so then here's the rear bushing, the anti-lift kit. So notice you'll have top right. So this is this writing will go up, and this is the right side bushing. That's as you're sitting in the car. So I'm swapping out for the red inserts over the black inserts. Now the red inserts are just supposed to be a little bit stiffer for racing applications. Seeing how this is pretty much dedicated as a race car now, we're going to use the red ones. And we're just going to lube up in here so it doesn't really create any friction on this joint here. And then you will correctly orientate and install these bushings. And it looks like we can just push them down by hand and might give it a tap with the old rubber mallet if we have to. Okay, so it's just pretty much that easy. So we got the bushing installed, or both bushings installed, and we are ready to put it back on. Okay, so we got it reassembled. So if you're just doing the control arm bushings, it's just as easy as that, and you can end the video right here. There was a little bit of pulling and pulling to try to get that rear bushing lined up well. There's a lot tighter tolerances in the anti-lift bushing or anti-lift bracket than the factory bracket, but you should be able to just kind of don't force anything, and everything should work out pretty fine. Just pry around a little bit until you get it lined up. The front, it's easiest if you kind of get it pushed in and then use a jack to lift it into place so you can get the bolt in. So it's good to have a couple jacks around for this project. It can also help you with lining up the ball joints once you're done. Anyways, let's get on to the other side. Well, I guess you're not going to see the other side, but then we'll get on to other stuff. Okay, next we're going to install the steering rack bushing. So basically you're going to get under here and you're going to loosen 4 bolts. One there, and then 2 on the other side. Be careful because these ones, which are a smaller size, those are for the sway bar. And if you unhook that, it's a little bit of a pain to get back on. Then you're going to go under here and you're going to just kind of peel up this heat shield. It's thin tin. Then you're going to get a screwdriver and separate the mounting bracket there. You're You're going to kind of reach through from the other side and do the same on the other side. Once you got it popped up, you can kind of pull and twist and pry and whatever you really have to do. It should be like a wiggly pull. We'll probably do it. Dang it. But anyways, you're going to pop that bracket up and then we can go from there. Light died, so this will be a little bit harder to see. But you're just going to take now a big pry bar and kind of pop up the rack once you get that bracket off. Let's see if I can't find a good spot to do it. And you don't want to go, you don't want to reef on it, but you do want to get it up in the air a little bit. And then you're going to wiggle out that bushing, which can be seen right there. It opens at the top, and basically you can lift up the rack and squeeze that bushing out. Okay, so this bushing will slide out past this bellows here, and I'll show you on the bottom. There's these little fingers that hook into the lower bracket. So you'll get the rack up, pull back these tabs to release that lower bracket, and then you'll be able to kind of open this up and slide it out. I haven't really seen any instructions on how to do this, so sorry if it's a little difficult to explain, but that's pretty much the method for it. And then here is the new bushing, and as you will be able to see, I need a camera crew. Anyways, as you can see, it's basically the exact same thing. The opening's on the side instead of the top now, but you still have little tabs for it to go into, and then this is just a solid, more solid rubber. But yeah. Then we're just going to put this back in and bolt it down and torque the bolts to factory spec. Technically you're supposed to replace them, but you should be fine. I'm not going to replace them. But then again, I'm not really a good judge for this. But anyways, I'll show you when it's done. Okay, so then you can kind of look back there and see the shiny new part in. So that's kind of, hopefully you guys can see the layout of it. Up, around, back down. That lower bracket humps upward, not downward, and it kind of supports everything upright. So hopefully you guys can figure it out from there. You don't have to drop the subframe or anything like that. It might make it a little bit easier, but unless you're doing a sway bar in the process, I wouldn't do that. Now, because I'm trying to figure out how to do this for you guys, I actually do have a sway bar to put on in a future video, but I wanted to try to do it a way that's less intrusive. So this is how I did it. Okay, now the last thing I wanted to show you guys is how the alignment has changed since doing this. Now, this car hasn't had a professional alignment in a while, so it's probably a little bit off, or it's probably a little bit off to start with. But, so we got okay, so we got basically 73 on this side, and then 72 and 5/8 on that side. So that means we got about a 1/4 inch of toe out right now. So that's a little heavy for this car. You'll definitely see some tire wear on that, so we can correct that. Or it's safe enough to drive it to an alignment shop. You're not going to eat the tires, you know, within 10-15 miles. I wouldn't worry about it too much. But I just wanted to show you guys that, because I know I really do stress alignments, but this definitely has changed quite a bit. This car was probably about an 1/8 towed out at maximum before we started. So correct, you know, so this is going to have to be aligned. Just wanted to point that out. It makes sense because basically the car should be gaining camber because it's pushing the control arm out more. So just something to note. That's pretty much all I'm going to do in this video. The rear trailing arm bushings I'm going to do in a future video when I'm doing the rest of the rear stuff. But that'll be a future video, so subscribe if you want to see that. I'll try to get it up in probably a couple weeks. Just depends. My wife's car is going to have to go in for some service work, so if that has to stay for an extended period of time, then this car will obviously be doing some daily driving duty. So anyways, that was the Whiteline Essentials Kit, essentially, minus that one piece. It was pretty easy to install. Quality looked decent. I'm not gonna say it was the best. There was a couple bubbles you could see in the polyurethane, which is kind of not something you normally see in a prothane bushing, or I didn't see in any prothane bushings I've done before. So keep that in, keep note of that. But the rest of it seemed to be pretty good quality, and definitely I'd say worth doing if you're trying to get everything you can out of the car. Especially the factory rear control arm bushings are pretty soft and compliant, and you can really see the tire moving around when you have those installed. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. See you later.